famed gateway to the 28 miles of wide, unbroken sands fronting Washington's Long Beach Peninsula. Featured at this year's festival was the first ever American appearance by the Singapore Kite Team. Earlier in the week at Lincoln City, Oregon, Shakib Gunn, founder of the Singapore Kite Association, gave us some of the background of their national kite, the Wao Bulan, or moon kite.
Well, these are if you're going to record, I'll talk sensibly. But these are the traditional Wao Bulan. And you can see they're made of 2 layers of paper, 1 layer of yellow, overlaid with this brown, which is cut out in a traditional pattern of bamboo shoot leaves and clouds. And it's a 500-year-old kite. The design is 500 years old, and this comes from Kelantan on the northeast coast of Malaysia. They have to fly in a lateral figure of 8 like this, and it's mandatory that all these have hummers on the top, like this white one on the beach. So these are fairly traditional Wao Bulan. Wao is a family of kites. There's a Wao Kuching, which is a cat kite, peacock kite, but this is called Bulan because Bulan means moon. And this lower sail is the shape of the moon.
Teammate Michael Seed also flew several of the traditional Wao Bulan and brought out this great modern materials version that breaks down for transport. Meanwhile, the Chua brothers, Boon Tong and Wing Chuan, showed off their nylon and Graflex centipede just over 100 feet in length. They followed that with a modern materials version of a centipede, almost 100 feet in length. Most of the team's kites are an interesting blend of ancient traditions and space-age materials, and their Peter Lynn box is certainly no exception. Executed in nylon and fiberglass, the design on this 20-footer represents Ta Mo, a Buddhist monk who came to China around 500 AD. Later, Mike brought out a bamboo and nylon version of an ancient princess picture kite. Finally, Dragon Master Lao, or Lao Qingni, decided the time was right, and everyone pitched in to ready the 335-foot Dragon kite for launch. Over 4 months in the making and consisting of 145 bamboo hoops covered in 2 colors of ripstop nylon, this is the largest kite of its kind in Asia. I should say was because the kite was reportedly purchased by Steve Lamb of Catch the Wind. The balance on this kite is so critical that the flight feathers on the arms are matched feathers taken from the opposite sides of a chicken.
Go ahead and get farther out of the picture, though. Sideways. I'm off.
To add to the festive atmosphere, local musician Michael Greiner brought his hammered dulcimer down to the beach and provided what was seemingly the perfect background music for kite flying.
I'll do you a set of reels. The first is a Scottish reel called The Flowers of Edinburgh. Oh, thank you. It's raining money in my case. Love it.
Probably the most competitive event at the festival is the stunt flying. Here at the pilots' meeting, the required maneuvers are being explained, and then of course once they've been explained, Corey Jensen has to explain the explanation. Of course.
Next up will be Eric Forsberg. Eric is flying a homemade Griffin kite. Is that right? Okay. Okay, are you ready? Horizontal figure eights. Okay, vertical figure eight. Next is a square. And next, the double reverse loop. Okay, and 2-minute freestyle and go. Okay, our next contestant is Richard Reynolds, and we'd like Chris Bojanoff getting ready down toward the ocean there. Are you ready, Richard? Okay, horizontal figure eights. Okay, vertical figure eights. Okay, square. Okay, and the double reverse loop.
God, beautiful.
Okay, Don is flying a custom Hawaiian kite. This is Hawaiian 16. This is Don's own design here. Are you ready? Okay, horizontal figure eights. And next, vertical figure eights. Next, we have square. We ask the spectators to please be careful on the south side of our flying field here. Okay, and next we have a double reverse loop.
Good, that is perfect.
Okay, and freestyle period. Ready, go.
Watch your punch. Instead of pulling, he pushes off to the side. Yeah. That's a real good flyer. Look at the broadness of the reach on this kite, too. It's just so wide. No, this has been cut down from the Avenger. The Avenger is the same as the old Action except for the sail area. But the Hawaiian's been cut and trimmed a bit. Trailing edge inside angle is a little bit broader. That's not quite as long, you don't have as much a wingtip on it. Bridle is just a hair different. Structure the same. Front edge wingtip is the same. Yeah. The Avengers fly pretty much the same way. They don't have quite as big a sail, so they're not quite as appealing a pull for the large people.
I have a feeling that Don Tabor and company are warming up with their Hawaiian stunner kites over here. They're the... I think Don's just trying to show us a little bit of his stuff here. They're just sort of sitting up there now. They're the big wide aspect V kind of kites. We've got one that's in red, pink, and blue, and we've got one in yellow, orange, and purple. So now that I'm talking about them, nothing's happening with them. Oh, we got 3 up there now. Now what are they going to do? I wonder if this is the synchronized flying act. Well, if they don't all collapse in a train, then we'll say it's a synchronized flying act. Now, look at this. We got 3 kites, one following the other, and there are 3 different kites there, all in dual lines. Now, how do you keep your lines straight? Well, I think I see the technique. All 3 kite flyers stand right next to each other, and they say, "What are you doing there, Don?" "Well, I'm trying to go this way. Follow me, quick, quick, quick." I have a feeling that to perfect this kind of a technique takes quite a while. The only other person I ever saw really do synchronized, well, I've seen synchronized flying with rainbow stunners, 2 6-packs of them. I also saw Steve Etikin do it with 25 packs. If you can imagine 2 25-packs of rainbow stunners with the long tails, they're the kites you see a little farther down, come whipping into each other and do a triple loop and then pull out of the loop as their tails are entangling. It's quite something. Now, take a look. Ooh, nicely done. Look at these guys. It's sort of like watching the Blue Angels of kiting, I think. They're coming up in a nice formation. I don't know how the hell to talk about it. I've never seen anything like this.
We need to have them all clear out so we get going. That's that guy.
It's kind of like watching a Pac-Man game here or something. You know, Blinky, Bonky, and whoever the others are. I'm waiting for them to all turn blue and try to eat the little white dots, or the other way around. You know, Tabor, I was wondering what you meant by synchronized kite flying. Now I see. Look at that. Looping to the left, triple loop, loop to the right, a horizontal sweep, a down under sweep, and back up.
Tony and Bobby. Joint every Bobby.
Single loop, and then a group loop to the right, group loop to the left. And a break and back together. A left loop underneath, a break, and back together. Coming across in a horizontal sweep, a break, and back together.
Okay.
Well done, well done. That is real sexy.
Of course, what Don Tabor and company probably need to keep their eyes on are some of these new stunt flyers up and coming, like this little guy, Mason Marsh, with his set of 3 stunning ghosts. Not bad. And then we have Mr. Cool flying his trilby here, demonstrating the ultimate in laid-back technique of kite flying. Larry and Marlene Ziller showed off the brand new 20-foot Tony Seifert Delta. They'd just taken delivery. This is the first flying. The kite's name is Dawn, and I think they meant Delta Dawn. Dean Davis, president of the AOK, which stands for Associated Oregon Kite Flyers, seen here constructing his winged box kites a la the Mel Govig design, seemed to be everywhere during the festival. He flew a Kashiwahara kite train, and on Sunday he was supposed to have a challenge for a dogfight with the Giants with Peter Lynn. These winged box kites are similar to the Mel Govig design, but these were made by Don and Lynn Larry of Portland. And if you look down in the bottom corner, you can also see the Associated Oregon Kite Flyers logo kite. Other featured guests of the festival included Bob, our founder, Ingram, who brought several of the celebrated anniversary deltas out from New Mexico, and Rick, our moderator, Kinnaird, who brought his celebrated vocal cords out from Maryland. Another major part of the spectacle was provided by Doug Hageman of Catch the Wind Kite Shows. Here we're putting up a string of fish on his favorite parafoil, Old Blue. These fish, incidentally, range in length from 23 feet for the shortest to 42 feet at the top. For those of you who may not know, Doug Hageman one time went for a drive around the country, which lasted about a year. And somehow at the end of it, he came back hooked on kites, and ever since then he sort of specializes in giant parafoils and giant kites in general. These fish are imported from Japan and come in practically every length you can name, from 2 or 3 feet to apparently 40 or 50 feet. They're silk screened on nylon. Here Doug's tying his beach balloon to the line of one of his kites. The drag of this thing is so extreme that no matter what he ties it to, it stays on the ground, but it never quite knows whether it's going up or it's going down. I love the little guys that were letting it bounce on top of him as soon as Doug looked the other way. His collection of eye-popping wind socks, spin socks, seemingly never ends. There's always another one. They're 75 to 90 feet long. They're 8 to 15 feet in diameter. Huge and spectacular. Hypnotic to watch. The collection even includes one slow turning version, unappetizingly dubbed the Slug Roller. It's over 100 feet long and seen here suspended underneath his red and yellow parafoil. This scene will give you some idea of how large these spin socks are. That's Dean Davis holding down the front of it while Doug's trying to untangle the back of it. It seems like it takes him forever to untie the tangle in it, but believe it or not, we cut most of it out. This isn't really a line of dancing cobras. As you'll see, this is Doug's super scale version of a string of banners. The line these streamers are attached to is attached to the line on his kite. The other end of the line is attached to a 600-pound sack of sand. That's just the streamers. The kite's attached to a truck. One visitor not on the schedule was this unknown pilot with his motorized parafoil. I think I'd rather be kiting. The festival's other special guest was Peter Lind, New Zealand's premier kite maker and his one-of-a-kind giants. Here he's assembling his version of a dragonfly, which is a 20-meter variation on a delta kite. If you look real closely, you can see Bob, our founder, Ingram, hanging onto the handle of Peter's dragonfly. This is Peter's Singapore logo kite from last year, and it's also a 25-foot delta-based design. Here, President of AOK, Dean Davis, once again helping Peter put together the box kite. This is the Peter Lind box, and you'll notice that this one is the equilateral triangle version rather than the right angle triangle that was originally published. Here Peter demonstrates his favorite flying technique, especially the part where you're sitting down. This 20-foot box of Peter's has fiberglass poles that he bakes at home and is fully covered in ripstop nylon. His streamer Delta was the first kite I saw him put up at the festival, but I never got a picture of him launching it. This was the pièce de résistance of Peter's collection, though. It's not really attacking him, even though Dustin thought so. This 55-foot windsock is made of 563 triangles and has 120 bridles. And Peter tells me that in 6 months he'll have it flying as a kite rather than a windsock. I'll be waiting to see that. Its undulating movement held everyone spellbound. After all of that flying of his giants, Lynn Larry had to bring out her sewing machine and plug it into the PA system's generator so they could put one of Peter's kites back together again.
As Mayor of Long Beach, I want to thank everyone and each of you for coming to our Kite Festival. And we have some very distinguished people here from New Zealand and as far away as Singapore. Some of you don't realize that's 11,000 miles. These people have come to put on a great show for us. And I thank you for coming.
These keys have business cards from all the businesses in town. We appreciated having you here. It really works. Next, I'd like to ask for the team from Singapore to come forward. And their representative, Karen Wong from Singapore. Welcome to Long Beach.
Indigenous to the northeast coast of Malaysia. Now you see other variants of this kind of kite in Thailand and areas like that, but nothing quite like the law. A very unstable, very unforgiving kite to the inexperienced. Now if you were to go to the Singapore Kite Festival, which is held in January, in fact it's going to be January 25th and 26th in 1986, you would find that you have three categories of kites: eastern, western, and then WAs. The Wabulan, the Wa Kaching, and a whole variety of those kinds of kites, because they are so popular over there. They put them in their own separate category. Now, to launch a Wa, what you have to do is you have to have somebody holding it with two hands, because with a high center of gravity it will tend to just spin off and spear into the ground. And the person who's holding it just has to hold it at an upright angle, and the person flying it then has to pull and pull very hard and very quickly, hopefully with a long line. And what they're trying to do is get about 100 feet of height right away, so that before the Wa starts its traditional figure eight movement, they're far enough away from the earth that it won't crash in. Is made by the Singapore kite team, and it has a traditional face on it. And what's kind of interesting about this traditional kite, or the Peter Lynn box with this traditional face, the faces of hold it, I lost my notes on that. The traditional face is that of Ta Mo. It's a face that's seen a lot in China as well in their motifs. Generally a brown face. And the reason it's a brown face is that Ta Mo was an Indian, and he was a priest who went somewhere between 480 and 510 AD to Japan and started the group of Shaolin priests. And those of you who have watched the Kung Fu movies know about Shaolin priests. Well, he was the starter of the Shaolin Buddhist movement, and in Japan he's known as a man who introduced martial arts to Japan, and is a very fearsome warrior kind of person. Well, when he was moving through from India over to Japan, he wasn't a very fearsome person, and in fact in Singapore, which is sort of halfway in between, they think of him as a very mild-mannered, philosophic man. I think I've said enough misinformation about that kite that they'll send a representative up to straighten me out in a hurry. Now, Don's got his Hawaiian kite back up, but it's the yellow, orange, and purple, and you notice it's settling back down on the ground just as I talk about it. We've got a number of little white kites flying here on the south side. They look like they're made from white garbage bags, and the reason they look that way is because they are. These kites are known as Scott sleds. They're very popular for kite flyers to make on the elementary school circuit. Hey, experts are going to show up at your school, and everyone's going to make a kite. So you get the tall white Glad trash bags, kitchen trash bags, and you bring those, and you have this little form, and you cut them out into this shape that we've got here, and I think that's Lee Toy that's putting up these kites. Yeah, it's Lee. And you can cut out with a good cardboard form, about 60 or 80 of these little suckers at a time. Use little 1/8-inch white birch dowel sticks and masking tape, and let the kids stick it on. They stick on the little bridle string and get to decorate them with magic markers. Total cost is about 11.5 cents a kite. And you can have a whole bunch of these little beggars running around with these kites. They fly very well if you don't run, but kids like to run with kites, so you stick the kite on their finger and you let them run, and the kite flies. And it makes for a great activity in the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, elementary schools, that kind of thing. Mel Govig holds the record for making the most kites with a bunch of screaming kids. I think he was at 352 for one day's work. Yeah, all right. Wow. Okay, here's the drop. Lee, not halfway between you and the target, Lee. That wasn't the point of the thing. You were supposed to be on the target. Okay. Is Dane Gilder going to pull the release line? Is that his job? Ray's trying to find out where in the world to put the target. We're waiting, I guess. Hageman is starting to walk into the ocean. Ray. Oh,
Oh, man, Ray hit the ground. Jack pulled the string. Dax is coming down in a beautiful descent. Okay, Dax, pull it in, short, glide back, come on. Ray saying, hey, Dax, baby. Dax is like, oh, wow, man. I mean, like, did you see that body? Dax hit the ground. You better hold up, stomp on him. Now, here's an important question. Do we measure where the bear finally ended up or where he first hit the ground?